Have you ever stopped to think that maybe the chaos in your life isn't your enemy, but a hidden invitation? I know it sounds strange, especially when you can barely breathe between tasks or when the whirlwind of thoughts won't let you sleep at night. But what if I told you there's a simple, almost magical way to turn that chaos into calm? All it takes is just a few minutes, a sincere connection, and the right words. Lord, bring peace into my chaos today. The truth is, we live in a world that glorifies constant movement, like being busy means you're doing well. But here's a hard truth. Running without direction only leads us to one place: complete burnout. While so many people turn to complicated strategies or quick fixes to ease their pain, few realize that the answer might be something much simpler: a morning prayer for peace. Sounds too good to be true? Maybe that's exactly why it works. So, give yourself a pause. Just for today, choose to slow down. Let this moment be a safe space, between the noise of the world and the whisper of God to your heart. Imagine starting your day not in a rush, but with intention. Not diving into chaos, but consciously choosing serenity. And the best part? This practice doesn't require sacrifice, long hours, or special skills. All you need is 5 minutes and an open heart. But before we reveal how this can shift your entire day, let's go deeper into how today's chaos could actually be the doorway to your greatest spiritual transformation. Get ready, because what comes next may not just change how you live your days, but how you understand the purpose behind them. In today's world, it seems like chaos is always lurking, ready to invade our lives. You wake up, grab your phone, and are immediately bombarded with notifications screaming for attention. Urgent emails, messages demanding immediate replies, social media feeds overflowing with contradictory information. All of this creates a suffocating sensation. And look, you're not the only one feeling this way. It's almost like a universal condition. But what if I told you there's a way to start your day with more lightness? A morning prayer for peace could be exactly what's missing to bring order to this whirlwind. Imagine starting your day with an intentional pause, dedicating a few minutes to connect with something greater. This simple yet powerful practice can completely change how you see the world. Instead of diving headfirst into chaos, you consciously choose to seek serenity. Sounds utopian, right? But think about it. When we hand over our worries to a higher power, we open space for unexpected solutions. Have you noticed how some things only fall into place when we stop forcing them? Now, you might be thinking, but how does this work in practice? Well, imagine you have a packed schedule and an endless to-do list. Before tackling all of that, take 5 minutes to do your morning prayer for peace. It could be a silent prayer, a deep breath while repeating words of gratitude, or even an intimate dialogue with the divine. The key here is intention. You're asking for help to navigate the day with more calmness. And here's something interesting. Many people have already experienced this transformation. For example, a friend of mine who works in finance, an environment known for its stress, started incorporating this practice into his routine. He told me that since then, he feels less anxious and handles daily pressures much better. The secret? He hands over his challenges to God, trusting that answers will come gradually. It's not magic, but a shift in perspective. Finally, remember that seeking peace doesn't mean ignoring problems. On the contrary, it's a way to face them with more clarity and wisdom. When you start your day with a morning prayer for peace, you're actually preparing the ground to handle whatever comes your way. And believe me, this small change can surprise you in unimaginable ways. But before we dive deeper into that, let's explore how prayer can become an even more powerful tool. Prayer is much more than just words spoken into the wind. It's a bridge between the human and the divine. When you allow yourself to dive into this moment of connection, something magical happens within you. It's as if for a few moments the outside world ceases to exist, and all that remains is a sacred space where peace can flow freely. This is the essence of the morning prayer for peace, an invitation to find refuge amidst the storm. But hold on, you don't need to be any kind of spirituality expert to get started. In fact, the beauty of prayer lies in its simplicity. You can start with something as basic as, Lord, Bring peace into my chaos today. Sounds too simple? Maybe. But believe me, these few words carry transformative power when spoken with faith. They signal your willingness to let go of your burdens and trust in a greater plan unfolding for you. And here's the thing. This practice doesn't need to be restricted to a specific moment. How about trying to integrate it into small daily gestures? For example, while having breakfast, pause and mentally recite your morning prayer for peace. Or during your commute to work, silently repeat a phrase that resonates with your heart. These moments may seem insignificant, but they lay a solid foundation for facing the challenges ahead. Here's something curious. Studies show that practices like prayer and meditation have real impacts on the brain, reducing stress levels and increasing feelings of well-being. Think of it as training for the mind, just like you do physical exercises to strengthen your body. And here's a practical tip. If you enjoy reading, try including inspirational texts or spiritual reflections in your morning routine. Books like The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle can complement this journey of transformation. Finally, remember that prayer isn't just about asking, it's also about listening. Many times the answers we seek are already there, available, but we're too busy talking to notice. When you say your morning prayer for peace, create space to listen to what the universe, or God, however you prefer to call it, is trying to tell you. This active listening can reveal unexpected, yet incredibly meaningful paths. Pause for a moment and think, what does chaos really mean to you? For many, it's seen as an enemy, something to be avoided at all costs. But what if I told you that chaos can actually be a disguised invitation? Yes, that whirlwind of emotions, thoughts, and challenges can be the gateway to profound transformation. It's in the midst of chaos that we often find the opportunity to reconnect with the divine, especially through a morning prayer for peace. Now, I'm not saying you should embrace chaos with open arms. No sane person would do that. However, when we accept that it's a part of life, we begin to see it from a new perspective. Imagine chaos as a storm. While it's happening, everything seems out of control. But once it passes, the air feels cleaner, the earth more fertile. Similarly, when we face our turbulent moments with faith, they can become opportunities for spiritual growth. And here's something even more interesting. Many people report that it was precisely during their most chaotic times that they discovered their inner strength. A classic example is a friend of mine who worked in an extremely stressful job. She started incorporating the morning prayer for peace into her routine and noticed that, little by little, she began to see solutions where she once only saw problems. It wasn't an instant miracle, but rather a gradual process of surrender and trust. Moreover, chaos can also remind us that we need to simplify our lives. Perhaps that packed schedule or relentless pursuit of perfection is contributing to your internal whirlwind. How about experimenting with small practical changes? For instance, reduce the time spent on social media and invest that time in activities that nurture your soul, like walking outdoors or journaling. These subtle adjustments can make all the difference when combined with your morning prayer for peace. Finally, remember that chaos doesn't define who you are. It simply reveals what needs to be transformed. When you choose to face it with a mindset of learning, it stops being an obstacle and becomes a springboard for something greater. And speaking of which, this transformation can deepen even further when we start cultivating inner peace consistently. Cultivating inner peace isn't something that happens by accident. It's a conscious choice that renews itself every day. And you know what the secret to getting started is? Incorporating small practices that help anchor this sense of serenity into your routine. A morning prayer for peace can be the perfect starting point, but it shouldn't, and doesn't have to, stop there. After all, inner peace is like a garden. The more you care for it, the more it blossoms. So, how can we expand this practice beyond the morning prayer? Well, there are several ways to keep this energy flowing throughout the day. For example, try setting aside a few minutes in the middle of the afternoon for a reflective pause. It could be a quiet walk, a guided meditation, or simply sitting in silence while taking deep breaths. These simple moments can help rebalance your mental and emotional state, especially when chaos seems to take over. Another powerful tip is to create an environment that reflects the peace you wish to cultivate within yourself. Imagine this. Instead of leaving your home or workspace cluttered, organize them in a way that conveys calm and order. Play soft music, light an aromatic candle, or place plants that bring freshness to the space. These details may seem small, but they have a huge impact on how you feel. Combine this with your morning prayer for peace, and watch how everything starts to flow better. Now remember that cultivating inner peace doesn't mean ignoring external challenges. On the contrary, it's about developing the ability to remain centered no matter what's happening around you. A practical example of this is how you handle conflicts. Instead of reacting impulsively, try pausing for a few seconds, taking a deep breath, and responding with clarity. This subtle shift can completely transform your interactions and bring more harmony to your relationships. Finally, keep in mind that inner peace isn't a final destination, but a continuous journey. Every small action you take to nurture this feeling contributes to a more balanced and meaningful life. And speaking of which, there's something even deeper we can explore: the role of the divine in this process of surrender and trust. There's something deeply comforting about knowing that we don't have to face life alone. When we hand our days over to the divine, we're actually allowing a higher power to guide our steps. This surrender isn't a sign of weakness, but rather of wisdom. After all, who better than the Creator to lead us through chaos? And it's precisely in this moment of surrender that the morning prayer for peace takes on even greater meaning. But how can we fully trust in this process? Well, think of it like planting a seed. When you plant a tree, you don't expect it to grow overnight. It needs watering, care, and above all, patience while it develops. Similarly, when you hand over your challenges to the divine, you're planting a seed of faith that will gradually blossom into solutions and opportunities. And this transformation begins with your morning prayer. And here's what's fascinating. Many people report that by trusting in the divine plan, they began to see their difficulties in a new light. A colleague of mine, for example, was facing a financial crisis and decided to include a daily practice of surrender in his routine. He started each morning with a morning prayer for peace, asking for guidance and clarity. Over time, he noticed that answers came in unexpected ways, sometimes through people, other times through simple ideas he had never considered before. Moreover, this surrender to the divine also teaches us a powerful lesson: that while we may not always control the outcomes, we have full control over our attitude toward them. For instance, imagine you're facing a major challenge at work. Instead of focusing solely on the problem, try asking for divine guidance while simultaneously acting with determination and positivity. This combination of faith and action can be incredibly transformative, both for you and those around you. Finally, remember that the divine isn't distant. It's present in every detail of your life, waiting to be invited in. When you say your morning prayer for peace, you're essentially opening the door for this presence to illuminate your path. And speaking of which, there's something even more exciting we can explore: how to apply all of this in practice and transform your life concretely. So what did you think of all this? Is it possible to transform chaos into peace with something as simple as a morning prayer for peace? Of course it is. But here's the most important question. What are you going to do from now on? Are you going to keep letting chaos dominate you, or are you going to take the first step toward a lighter, more balanced life? Remember, small changes can lead to big results. You just need to start. Imagine how it would feel to wake up every day knowing that no matter what happens out there, you have an internal anchor of peace. How about trying it today? Take 5 minutes out of your day, say your morning prayer, and see how it impacts not only the hours that follow, but your entire perspective on life. And don't forget, this journey doesn't have to be lonely. Share your experiences in the comments, inspire others, and exchange ideas about how this practice is changing your routine. Speaking of which, if you enjoyed this content and want to continue learning how to bring more peace and purpose into your life, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way, you'll always stay updated with the latest content and can dive even deeper into this connection with the divine. After all, we're all in this journey together, and every step you take is a step toward true transformation. So tell me, what will be the first step you'll take today to bring more peace to your chaos? We're excited to hear from you.